and capitalise on this game.
You say you can't make an excuse, but you've lost a lot of creative flair, and then even during the game, a couple more went as well.
No, I understand. It's completely understandable. But like I said, we've got a lot of good players. Credit to Jez. He's come on. He did really well. I think he was probably our best player when he on the pitch. So credit to him. But yeah, I think we could look ourselves in the mirror and say that we could probably do a bit better.
Yeah, when Jason Raksaki came on, he really sees that moment he was given.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a top player, someone with so much potential, someone with high hopes that the club have. So hopefully he can, take this opportunity and keep going.
How do you feel you could have been more clinical at the other end of the pitch? Because obviously you've always been very, very solid, and we've seen that in the last couple of weeks. Where do you think you could have been more clinical?
It's hard to say. I'd say Forest made it tough for us today. Very well organised, good team. Showed how dangerous they are in the transitions as well. I think it was just hard to get the ball into our front players a little bit. I can take responsibility. I don't think I had a good game today either. But at least we got a point today.
In what sense do you feel he didn't have a good game?
I have high standards, so I don't think I was good today. I think I got a lot of help from T and Joa and the boys in midfield. Hughesy was fantastic again today. But yeah, hopefully we can regroup and get back to winning ways.
You say you got some help, but that's a good sign of the way you set up, isn't it? And the way Roy Hodgson sets you up, that you can be guaranteed a lot of the time to be really solid.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one thing you did say is that we don't lose this game. In those games you can get carried away and want to get a result, and because we're playing a team like Nottingham Forest who are very good on the transitions, they wait for you, they pick their moments. It's important that you try and stay as solid as possible and try not to lose 1-0 in these games. But yeah, I think it's credit to the way the manager set up and the way we train, and it was good to stay as solid as possible today.
As you say, important not to lose, and it's this international break now come at the right time, do you feel?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've got a good win away at United, another point here today. I think it's an opportunity to rest and try and regroup and then come back later and see if we can push on.
Well, they picked up the point, which was the most important thing as far as Crystal Palace are concerned. They've kept 4 clean sheets, actually, so far this season, the most in the division. But there's the story of this match in numbers. As you can see, that neither of the team were overwhelming in terms of possession. There's nothing much in it. If you look at the shots, though, 16 shots for Nottingham Forest to 8 for Crystal Palace, 2 on target for Palace and 5 for Nottingham Forest. I guess we said this before, both teams missing key players, especially up top.
Yeah, they were, and just referring back to that interview there of Mark Gay when he said he didn't play well and how they should have done better going forward. I was surprised because as a centre-back, I'm sure he's delighted he's got another clean sheet. Yeah. And it was a real chance to put the feet into his own forwards, wasn't it? But he refrained from that. But it was quite a sombre interview, and I think that just shows how the game really petered out towards the end. And he said about controlling it and backing up the result they got at Old Trafford, which is a positive. They got 3 points and add another point to that. I mean, it's keep going and momentum in the right direction. But it was interesting that he said we didn't get carried away, even though it was a home game. You can push too much and get undone from behind. So that just shows when you've got a more experienced manager and just knowing when to go for it and when not to. Yeah, and I guess the point does take them into the top half of the table, which is not a bad place for this Crystal Palace side to be.
No, they've had a fantastic start. I think that, going away to Manchester United last weekend and picking up the result that they did, that's a huge performance. Off the back of having so many injuries within their team, they would have really had to grind that result out. So you heard what Gay was saying there. I think today was about not losing. And they were solid, as I mentioned before, at the back. That back five has been pretty solid for them, highest in the league in terms of clean sheets. And they are missing the most creative players. And we've seen Raksaki come on and really make an impact, really exciting player. So he's a player that they can look forward to bringing back into the team after the international break.
But we saw from the numbers the chances were few and far between for both sides. But Palace did have a chance in the second half. It fell to Mateta.
They did, and it did fall to Mateta, and I can't help but feel when he sees this run back, he should have done better. Edouard, he has to put the brakes on there. Edouard plays it square to him. And as soon as this ball's running from his left-hand side, he just never seems to get his feet sorted, and he's almost reaching for the ball after it's run right past his feet. We can see here he's having to slide and sort of hook it back when really he should have been sort of strolling onto that and passing it towards goal. And he just goes for power. I think it was the wrong thing to do, but that's from not being set. We said right away, didn't we, when we saw it?
He just completely didn't look balanced at all. I think, Glenn's right. He didn't get his feet sorted out, so he didn't work his feet in order to then get the shot away, with good balance. But I think he misjudged the pass. It sped up a little bit. Maybe the water on the surface just moved it away from him. I think he was... No, but I think if you see it late, he set up and he was completely unbalanced, Glenn. We've seen that. And he should have sorted his feet out. It was a perfect pass. But I'm saying, by the time he sorted his feet out, the board passed him. And the shot then goes, astray. So you just see there, and then it just went past him. So he just didn't adjust quick enough. And this was a big, big opportunity for Crystal Palace to get themselves one up.
Yeah, it would have been a long way back from Forest there. But I think it just shows a striker that maybe isn't as confident as we've seen him in the past.
There was a player that you pointed out actually in the first half, Raksaki. What is it that you like about this player?
He's exactly what Crystal Palace are to me. A youngster coming through their ranks who is exciting, who wants to drive at defenders and make things happen. This is what the Palace faithful are used to in the likes of Zaha coming through. I mean, he is everything that academy brings through. He's intent, I think, first and foremost, of trying things, and this one, I think he gets it wrong eventually, but still trying, still sort of driving at his man and trying to make things happen. And even though he is more of a flair player, he's still back doing his job, buying free kicks. And for me, he's a real exciting prospect. And for Roy Hodgson to trust him in this scenario and put him on, I think speaks volumes here. Even though it doesn't quite reach the goal, great feet and has a quick shot, but really exciting prospect, I think, with Crystal Palace. One positive of the evening along with that clean sheet.
Got a lot of talent, hasn't he? A lot of skill.
I was going to come off the back of that. I think when you talk about players playing without fear, you often think that young players can come in and just play with freedom, and it's quite intimidating to come into a senior environment, home ground, home stadium with the fans there expecting something. I think he showed no fear. I think every time he got the ball, as Glenn said, he was just so direct. He wanted to impact the game in some way. He showed great balance with the ball, beating players. He was really confident doing that. I think we'll start to see, and I think what he has to start develop now is his end product. I think if you have better end product in that final third, they may be able to create a little bit more Crystal Palace in that final third.
Talking of now Forest, there were a couple of chances in the second half as well for them. I mean, there were chances for both in the second half, but talk us through the one for Montiel, Glenn.
Well, it's one where it drops at the edge of the area, and I think he does as well as what he can with it. It's cleared here from Will Hughes and he catches it, sort of a scissor kick volley. And to be honest, I think the goalkeeper's got it covered, but it's a brilliant interception from Anderson, and how he manages to get it up and over from that point is quite incredible, because for a moment I thought it was going to creep into the roof of the net. Yeah, it was a fantastic. I think here's the other chance, Ngala, and then we see Origi with a ricochet that falls back to him. But I just think, Ngala here, just the touch is too heavy. This is where we was talking about the quality in that final third. If he'd have just been able to adjust his feet and soften that pass, maybe a better chance would have come from this.
Yeah. What do you think, Glenn?
I think exactly the same. It was the reason that Origi almost got in off that, it was a bad touch. Because Origi's making that across run, if he can just touch it into the empty space, he's going to get a really good strike on goal. But I mean, his touch let him down at the end of the day, and I think that's probably why he got taken out of the team from last weekend. He had a number of opportunities against Brentford, wasn't quite clinical. He's still quite raw Langer for me. I still think he needs a lot of work, but Steve Cooper is the man to improve youngsters without any doubt.
I was actually asking you about Origi when he came on, and I know for Liverpool he often came off the bench, and was the super sub most of the times, but why not a starter for Forest? Do you not think he could do more?
Well, I mean, the man who picks the team, Steve Cooper, obviously doesn't think he can do more, and he does seem to be picking up that tag in his career of being a super sub. And some people just can affect games from the start and don't when they come on. He's one that seems to affect games really well when he comes on, even though he didn't affect today. We've seen him, he's become quite famous for his antics at Liverpool and in the Champions League and things. And yeah, he just doesn't seem to be able to shake that tag at the minute, Origi.
Well, let's hear from his boss. Here he is, Steve Cooper.
Steve, you're probably the more disappointed of the two managers, I would think. You nearly scored two sensational goals in the first half.
Yeah, and I guess that's a sign of the progress that we're making, that we're coming to somewhere like Crystal Palace, and I'm disappointed that we're only taking a point. So yeah, I will take a step back and see that the team is on a bit of an upward trajectory, and we won't take that for granted. We'll keep going with our work, because there's still lots to come. We've got loads of new players, and we're in a lot of quarters a fairly new team. And that's not always easy when you're trying to prepare for at this level. But yeah, I mean I think Mateta's had a decent chance in the second half, but we've had the real chances of the game and well created chances as well. Morgan's running behind and it's nearly a great goal. And Murillo's ended up having a chance of the game on the back of doing something unbelievable in stepping in and then going on a dribble. So and then at the end, we could have nicked it with a lot of corners and territory and really felt like if something had dropped, then it was something we would have deserved taking the 3 points. I have to say as well, it's a clean sheet away from home, and we would have done anything for sort of results and performances like that last season. So there's a feeling of we could and should have won the game, and you're right in the question, we'll be more disappointed than them. But we'll accept the point. But like I said, we've got to take a step back and go, there's some good signs in the team, and there has been for a few weeks now. So let's hope to hit the ground running again when we return.
Just going to talk about Murillo, who you brought in from Corinthians. 21 years old, he can pass a ball all day long, and the bit of skill you just talked about was sensational. He looks like you found a real good one. Yeah,
well, that will sort of catch the attention, of course. I wish he'd scored, but maybe that's next. But he defended really well. Positioning was really good, composed, and you want your centre backs to be able to do both parts of the game. Sometimes, especially where we are second season in the Premier League, we know that we're going to have to defend at times more than we attack, and that's fine. There's no shame in that, and we need centre backs to do what our pair did tonight. And if Murillo's doing that 21 when he's learning the language and he's not long in the country, then the signs are good, and he's a really good boy. We really enjoy working with him. We held him back a little bit when he first came over, but we knew we were signing a talent anyway, but then to see him in training, it was just a matter of time of trying to pick the right moment to put him in. Got a little bit of experience of that with younger players, and when might be the right time. We wanted it to be at home last week at the City Ground, and he did well enough in the game to stay in and do what he did tonight. So we won't get carried away with him because you can't with young players. That's the worst thing you can do. But at the same time, we know he's a talent. We enjoy working with him, and he'll help the team grow for sure.
He has got a lot of new talent at his disposal after signing 30 players last season over 2 windows. It's now 13 players this season, and he's doing a good job of managing them all. He spoke about the chances that Forest had in that first half, and we're going to take a look back at them now because there were 2 really good chances. This first one fell for Murillo.
Yeah, it didn't. It's out of nothing, and this is a Brazilian centre-back, I suppose, for you. I mean, it's brilliant feat to get into the area he does, and just lacked that little bit of composure right at the end. But you've got to give credit to Sam Johnson for standing tall. I mean, this rollover with his left and then comes back to him, doesn't quite get the power in the second shot he wanted to, but that right there, if that hits the back of the net, he would be in the running for goal of the season.
It was a great run, and then he's involved in the second best chance they had.
How good was that pass?
A fantastic long pass, and Gibbs White run off the back of the centre half, and he gets a nice cushion touch on it, maybe too perfect, and he just guides it toward. You just see how he softens it here. Maybe, as I said, it's one of those that sometimes you connect so nicely and it just doesn't fall, but this was the best of the chances for Forest in the first half, and probably thought they'd have scored one of them.
I think actually that was a reminder of how influential Morgan Gibbs-White was actually throughout the whole game and how important he is for Forest. OK, we're going to head straight back to Selhurst Park and bring you some reaction. This time we are going to hear from the Palace boss. Here he is, Roy Hodgson.
Roy, I know you're always looking for more at home, but given the circumstances, can you be quite satisfied with that point?
Yes, I think I can, Johnny. I mean, especially losing Duque after yesterday's training session, and then Jeff Schlupp. You know, that's 2 more senior players, if you like, that we were hoping would help us in this game here. I thought that there were good moments in the game for both teams, actually. You know, it swung a little bit. You know, they had good spells, we had spells. I think both teams were organised and determined not to give too much away. I thought both defences did very well when the ball came into their zone. And I think for us at the moment we have to look at it and be sanguine about it and work on the basis, well, this was always going to be a tough game. It's another clean sheet. It's another point. It wasn't what we dream of course, because you always dream of winning your home games. But unfortunately, you've always got an opponent in front of you, and they sometimes have other ideas.
Actually, they have struggled against Nottingham Forest. Still no win against them in now 7 games. But as Roy just pointed out, still an important point earned. You said the same.
Yeah, I think both managers seem really happy, to be honest. It's a game that won't live long in the memory, but you know what? It's a point in the Premier League. And
really? It won't live long in the memory?
I don't think it will, see much.
Len was just saying he can't get that hour and a half back of his life.
Called him out. But look, both managers walk away with a point, as we've said, and that's how it ended at Selhurst Park. Well, thank you very much for your company. It was absolutely brilliant to have your company. And just before we go off air, quick word on Steve Cooper. How good has he been so far this campaign?
Well, fantastic. I think the turnaround we've seen last season of players to then pretty much do it again this season and be in a better position, considering we was all talking about, for him to go and Nottingham Forest getting relegated. We haven't heard that in the early starts of the Premier League this year. OK, well, thank you both. It's been brilliant as always. Thank you for your company as well. And that wraps up our Saturday in the Premier League. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.